Hi Aries, how are you? This is As the Cards Turn. It's Kimberly. I'm going to be doing a current energy on you with crystals and some crystal cards, some clarifications. So let's get started. I hope you're doing well. I'm going to pull some crystals from here, and then I'm going to read them in a correlation over there. Wow. A lot of love, a lot of kindness is on the board. You're doing a lot of things. You know, there's an energy of overgiving here. Let's see. Can I have a crystal for Aries? Current energy. Well, of course, Sunstone, and it says, take pleasure in all the things you do. So, that's a nice card to have. So, is there something that you're doing that you don't mind? It's a lot of work, though. I'll say that. Such a soft energy to you at this time. Very quiet, calm, I want to say. Yeah, Angel Oral Quartz. You know, there's gratitude here from either you or somebody else. You know, they have gratitude. You know, there was a healing, a protection that that was there. And you were a part of it. One more. Future position. It says lighten up. You know, and that's what you got in correlation, very light energy. So I'm pleased to see that. And then you have make a decision. So you made a decision, you know, that might have been hard, but you went through it. Okay? See? Make a decision. You worried about something of a commitment. I see that. You know, you might work with birds too. Birds come to you, or a message comes to you. The bird energy with me. Himalaya. Ground yourself. You know, and I think there's a no choice in something. Wow, somebody, you move forward, or something move forward for you. In a way, that's how you feel with this commitment. A little nostalgia with it. A little healing here. It's time to transform and healing. Represents a lot of healing in a lot of areas, or helping someone heal. Which Aries, you know, you can do that. See what the outside energy is like. I got 2 for that. Celestial Light, which is soothe your soul, and Pyrite, which is let the money flow in. Are you opening up your learning here with the Pyrite? You know, are you opening up your heart to something that has a big commitment to it? You question yourself why you're doing this, and I think that's the outside energies of the past bouncing and reflecting, and Aries tends to do that. You know, there could be a little guilt here. And on the bottom of the deck we have Justice. Oh, there was something that was overloaded, overburdened with responsibilities, some stress, burnout, problems, drudgery, obligations, and a little struggle. Then you got moving forward. So, in the past, that's why I said, there's something that's moving forward with it. That's the Five of Cups upside down. So, not looking at something. There's an impatient energy around you. Mm-hmm. Could be the Queen of Pentacles, or there could be you thinking, how do I make this work? There's a lot of, this is a very big commitment, like I said. There was toxic things in the past. Addictions, bondage, obsession, materialism, temptation, mental health, fear, doubt, lies, violence, ignorance, sexuality, trap. There was a tower with this. This Five of Cups emotion. And I want to say this is the past. You didn't even know what to do. It was so unclear at the time. You got the Queen of Swords upside down. You got the Queen of Pentacles upside down. Wasting money, overly ambitious, undergrounded, social climber, jealous, possessive. Maybe you were dealing with a jealous person in the past. I keep saying in the past. That just had no patience for toxic. And or when the things got going tough, somebody split. Have one on the tower. An energy on the tower. Remember your worth. I feel something unfaithful, so this is past energy, but I also see love with it too. And without the toxic, there's a different perception, to set strong boundaries from the toxic. There's a different perception. You kind of are opening up here with the Angel Knight and the Malachite. And this is a more absorbing energy to soothe your soul. With the crystal, it would absorb, But remember that crystal, with a certain energy can turn to dust. So I don't know what that is from, you got to turn to dust, transformation with that card that I'm feeling. Yeah, 2 grounding factors. Now, I pulled that crystal out today, which just looks just like it. It really does. It's a golden healer. You're learning. You're opening the door to something, that may have been closed because of this past energy. Because in the future you got Knight, and that's living the now. So let's see what's happening with that, learning and in the now. Let's see what's happening with that one. Can I have golden healer quartz, please? Open the door. Sorry, that was my fault. I wasn't close enough. I jumped down. Something that you were juggling and it came out sideways. So did the Knight of Wands. So something you made in a quick decision in the here and now. You wanted to put effort into something. Mm-hmm. You didn't even think twice about it. The Knight of Wands led that, you're afraid you're not doing something or doing enough for the same energy that was toxic in the past. I want to say the 10 of coins are upright. I don't feel them reversed, but these two definitely hit the floor running sideways. You got the 10 of Pentacles here. There's a lot of responsibility because, even in funds there's a lot of responsibility. Let's see why the live in the now is here. That's patience, Try to have patience while you're learning with the golden healer. It's definitely, an active energy on the board here. See, disappointments, bad financial management, procrastination, impatience, setbacks, lack of growth. You notice something from the past that was toxic in the here and now. There hasn't been much growth. If anything, it got worse. And this. It could be in someone's movement, as well. Yeah, you know, there's a walking away, or somebody thought you were going to walk away due to all this. So they're in shock with the pyrite and learning something about you, and there may be more than one person here. There's confusion, there's options, there's choices, there's decision, there's opportunity, there's procrastination again, you know, fantasy, illusions, wistful thinking, and imagination. You know, the Seven of Cups, it's options. So you have choice. It was a choice that you made. You made, Aries. Yeah, you know, and it was a victory. Why it was a victory is because even though you were wounded, to be kind, you got the benefit out of that feeling more than the chaos. You know, that's the opportunity. You grab the light instead of the dark. In the here and now, you know, there's a lot of options, a lot of confusion right now. You may be waiting on information. You know, abuse of generosity, be careful. That's what I said there. Overgiving, denial of grants, loan, abuse of power, unfairness, fake charity. You know, underpaid, doing something for nothing, you know, other than kindness is a victory. Because that's what it's saying. That's your kindness right there. Don't, you know, whoever, even if there's a cross watcher here, you know, Aries don't like when you take your kindness for weakness. You know, maybe the outside energy has a choice too. You know, they weren't planning on something. Something happened out of left field. It was a tower moment. You know, somebody could be wounded. Or, you know, or mobility is slowed down. Could be an elder. As I seen that. Page of Wand and not using a judgment. You know, so you knew this in this person. You knew this in this person. You still decided to help. Hasty, gullible, impatient. Right? You got the Fool energy and you got the wish for how you feel. You're hoping this movement relieves something in this. You know, I don't think this person thought you would be there for them like that. And you are. You're very stable, grounded with the healer here with the pyrite. You take a lot, been through a lot. This could be you or somebody else that you're dealing with. You got the Queen of Wands upside down here, you know, and that's pushy, dominating, taking control, self-righteous, bulliness, unfriendliness, jealous, manipulative. You know, and I want to put it to all that. So something that Aries went through, you know, where there's been a recognition and a change of judgment or against you, you know what I mean? There has been a halt in a reflection of you. In the past, they left you out. You know, there was a lot of change, there was a lot of challenges, there was a lot of rebuilding with it too, you know. And there was a lot of waiting. Long time dedication to someone. But Aries will do that because they're loyal, right, Aries? That's right. And, you know, even though you might not have it or you felt like this movement to help somebody was a little reckless, you know, you were looking at, you know, someone at their rock bottom that needed help. That's all I'm going to say. They needed you, and it was a blessing. You also look at it as a block, too. It was something that you were revealed in how patient they were and how they were waiting. You know, maybe they didn't speak a lot. You could be dealing with a water sign. Nine of Pentacles, you know, slowly and surely you were worried about something and something was unclear. It still is. Backstabbing energy. You know, you're afraid of that. You know, if you apply or open your heart here in learning, you're afraid of something with it. Is it the sun, happiness? You're worried about time. There's a time factor in here. Yeah, the wheel. Divine timing. And it came out sideways. So you feel nothing has moved forward from a past action. You looked at it like in the past, even you yourself weren't putting in your all, let's say, in this relationship here. Yeah. But there's love there on the board. Thick and thin love. Yeah, Empress energy. An older energy, and that's what I felt. I felt water as well. Emotions, it's emotional. Something, it's dynamic to go through something like this. Something happened out of left field. It was a very heavy tower with the Ten of Swords and the tower present. Mm-hmm. Showing an older person, maybe that couldn't move. Mm-hmm. It was a big, major healing with it, and a lot of love surrounded this person. So I think there's an awakening possible in all that toxic and movement in the past that let's see what the bottom card shows. Yes, Ace of Wands, a new beginning to something. Drink to that. Now come coffee. Mm-hmm. The Aries cup. There's Aries cup. There's a couple of something that got through all this. That's underneath this. They got through all of it. Really, 1643. You might have been gained your spirituality from this toxic, and it's like a I don't know, an effect, on somebody else to awaken the good energy. It's addicted just as good as the bad energy. It can be absorbed here and then repelled. Mm-hmm. Stored. So something you looked at very deeply before you made a decision. Choices. You chose the positive with the playful here. You chose the positive out of all the negative that was thrown. There was a lot at you. I think you're the Empress energy. Choices are, again, there's a Page of Swords coming at you. The quick movement that was in the deck, I guess, from another reading. But it's present. It's a Page of Swords. You got playfulness. How does the other person feel? That's you, 44 to a 46. Well, he's or she is overwhelmed. Letting go of something, not in denial any longer, has a sense of belonging. Is kind of getting more focused, Hope is upside down at this point, but something has been revealed with them in movement, okay? So you're very focused on the negative. You think something is coming to an end. You're learning patience and growth and beauty and in love, I want to say, and ambition. And the ability to conquer or take control, to forgive. Individuality. Learning again. It's a learning energy. You're learning something about someone. You're learning something about cycles. See the World card here, so you might just be going through it now. I do see the Ten of Swords. You've been worried a lot. A little bit of anxiety. You're not sleeping good. There's guilt or regret, remorse, overwhelmed, mental anguish, and unhappiness. And I wouldn't take all that with a playful and happy, because you still get that beauty and growth at 40. So I like this synchronicity here for you, Aries. The playful, the growth, the choices, very calculated, very stable as well. You got trapped underneath, upside down, so there's something that you individually if an occurrence didn't happen individually, your choice would have been different. But due to circumstances, there's a wounded energy. There's a willingness to open the heart here, and that's just your beautiful energy coming through right underneath beauty. Let's see what the woundedness says. And we were asking, you know, the person that Aries might be dealing with. Person Aries will be dealing with. Person Aries dealing with for their greatest good. Hold. Well, they didn't juggle something right. Something, you know, went through the cracks. The Four of Pentacles. They're blocking something. You know, there's a Six of Pentacles. There's a non-equal give and take in it. And I think they know it. They also have the Seven of Swords upside down, not using their choice as well. And the Seven of Pentacles, not planting something well. You got more. You have justice, and you got that twice. There's justice in one of your movements. There's justice in the way it healed. There's justice in the way both parties individually felt blessed. Yeah, there's a celebration here. You know, there was a close call of some sort. You know, it was very unclear, came very fast. And you got bits and pieces of the situation, but took control over it at the same time. Page of Cups. It was a message about love. And I think that was witnessed. I ask them in a relationship, if you get the Devil card in that, that's a good omen. I know a lot of people take the card as toxic, you know, but in this case there was a lot of passion between two people. There was a lot of growth. There was a lot of time. There was a lot of time. And time again, there's been a renewal. You know, healing, strength gained, a different perspective, you know, through each tower, like I said. And then it moves again with the Fool, double time. It's a Six of Pentacles upright, so an equal give and take, and you notice this in the here and now energy from the past toxic as well. But you're worried about time factor here. Why is the Wheel of Fortune here? There's a little nostalgia with it. Misfortune. There was a Three of Pentacles working together. There's a beautiful, you know, doing for each other, working well together. And the time he's had. There was a lot of leaving out feelings that keep reoccurring, you know, that keep that thought, the reoccurring, but it comes in quickly and that's subsiding here, but it does come in. Something that two people didn't deal with, you know, and you know it, Aries. That's what's, you know, there's a denial about something where you know about it firsthand. You're the Empress, you do know. Why is the Empress present? Hold. Empress. Well. You know what you're doing, Aries. You know, you're an old soul. You're a caring soul. You can forgive. But you won't forget. The elephant in the room. Judgment twice. You got Judgment twice. You got the Emperor twice. Empress twice. Feminine energy twice. You got a gratefulness. You got divine timing. You know, you've got so much love that came towards and around you, but a toxic past. So you feel like it's ended with this. Yeah, and you're happy with it. 10 of Swords on a 10 of Cups. You're happy with this. You know, you wanted that cut off. You didn't know how, but it did, you know, because there was a lot of hurtful energy in the past here. you know, that you haven't thought about in a long time. And it brought something up in you, you know, the spark to look at what the moon was, with the moon reversed. And, you know, the Emperor did show its face and rear its face, and that's you. And you looked at it in the past, Six of Cups. Now you have the Ten of Swords. You got the Star energy, which is healed and moved forward. You know there's a healing that might take time. This might be the situation. You know, you also know there was a victory in something. And then you got the Queen of Wands upright. Sorry, Queen of Swords upright. So you got knowledge here. You got the Six of Wands. You got the Ten of Swords. So again, clarifying the Ten of Swords, it's over. You're left with the Star energy and the Empress energy. It's been a long time coming. The peace that you need. Clarity. Let's get an animal aspect. There could be pets, there could be children involved in the situation as well, of your decision. But there's a long-term commitment that you're really looking at. Vulture energy, Aries, bird. You were disrespected. But then you also knew that that energy was a helping energy. You know, that energy is to remind you that you are spiritually protected, that you have a lot of people around you to ask for help, and they've come forward with that, you know. We've got the rabbit in a quick pace, you know. There was a closure there. You know, that was kind of uniquely handled with the Phoenix. That's you again. You're all over your reading. You know, you're all over your reading. You handled something beautiful, and it's just dynamic. And I'm sorry that you had to go through this. You know, there's a little something, whatever that is, for you. Take what resonates. Please don't force. But the growth and the playfulness that you can do while holding such a differences of energy is why you're the Phoenix rising. You can take that toxic and you can, in the here and now, find the good in it. So a person has the will to move forward, to play a little more, to forget about that toxic for a while. Maybe you help this person or they help you. Beautiful reading. Thank you, Aries. Nice to see you. Okay, take care.